Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Jennings with a special Blue Wave report on the Attorney General's Russian connections. Some experts argue that Barr's previous work in the private sector could conflict with his continuing supervision of the investigation into Russian tampering in the 2016 campaign. Why? Because a few of Barr's previous employers are connected to key subjects in the probe. Barr's net worth is about $20 million, but his former law firm, Kirkland & Ellis, LLP, represents Alpha Bank, a Russian criminal cartel-controlled bank. The head of Alpha is Mikhail Friedman, who has ties to Manafort. Alpha Bank was furious about the Steele dossier, which exposed their many ties to the Putin cartel. Barr also personally received dividends from the Vector Group, which means he held stock in a criminally compromised company. On his financial disclosure report, Barr noted that he earned anywhere from $5,001 to $15,000 in dividends from the Vector Group. The company's president, Howard Lorber, brought Trump to Moscow in the 1990s to seek investment projects there, and the trip is widely seen as the first of many attempts to establish Trump Tower Moscow. Kirkland & Ellis, where Barr worked before becoming AG, has a London office that has represented Deripaska's recently unsanctioned EN Plus group. Barr also supervises at Justice, another Kirkland & Ellis alumnus with Alpha ties. Earlier last year, Trump nominated Kirkland & Ellis partner Brian Benkowski to the Justice Department's Criminal Division. In his role with the law firm, Benkowski had represented Alpha Bank and supervised an investigation into suspicious online communications between that bank and servers belonging to the Trump Organization. Questions have also been raised about whether Zip Capital Management, a hedge fund where Barr was a board director from 2016 to 18, may also be too closely connected to the Russian investigation. Russia requested treasury docs on Dirk, Edward, and Daniel Ziff, billionaire investors who had run afoul of the Kremlin. This request was made weeks before Zelenska's meeting. They said Ziff brothers donated $400 million to Clinton at the time William Barr was on Ziff's board of directors. So the question being, was Russia trying to get compromise on Barr? The fact that Veselnitskaya, is in a meeting, that's the Trump Tower meeting talking about Browder and Browder's associates. There is a question about this meeting and the focus on Browder and the Ziff brothers. Barr has significant assets, almost $250,000 with Deutsche Bank, which was the only bank that would lend to Trump when all other banks viewed him as too hot to handle. That bank has also been implicated in Russian money laundering scandals. Two congressional committees are currently looking into the president's business ties to Deutsche Bank. It is unclear if Barr has divested from Vector Group or pulled his assets out of Deutsche Bank since he became the Attorney General. Which begs the question, why did the Supreme Court Justice Kennedy retire? What role did his son's job at Deutsche Bank play? Who paid off Brett Kavanaugh's $92,000 country club fees, his $200,000 credit card debt, and his $1.2 million mortgage, and purchased themselves a SCOTUS seat? It all comes together, and it's all Russia. Thank you to Newsweek, at Kelly2277, at Craig Under, and at Imprison45 for information used in tonight's report. For the Blue Wave Report, I'm Dan Jennings. Good day, everybody.
Don't just comment, act. Subscribe. Have a good night.